Let's see if this is working. Are we good? Welcome everybody. Welcome to every film that I saw in 2022 ranked. Let's see if everything is good on my end. Everything is good. All right, we are all good to go. So, welcome everybody to every film that I saw in 2022 ranked. The thumbnail as of now says all 92 films that I saw, but I actually ended up seeing 94 films. 2 of those films were Glass Onion and The Menu, which I saw after New Year's, but I still decided to put them on this list because I saw them so new into the new year. It hasn't been, 6 months since 2022 has passed. So I thought I would include them on this list. We've got this pulled up. Let's just get straight into it. We've got the WTF category that is obviously it's what the F. It's all the films that did not meet my expectations, or all of these films that I maybe, just thought would be slightly interesting and either were just excruciatingly boring or just made really poor filmmaking decisions, whether it was the actual technical aspect of it or whether it was just poor acting, whatever it may have been, just not a strong story. It's just the what the F category. And then next up above that, we got Not For Me. These are films that I don't necessarily think are that bad, but I just don't think they were marketed for me. Hello, Valerie. Hello, Dreaming Insomniacs. What's up, everybody? So yeah, obviously I haven't started quite yet, but we got the WTF category on the bottom. We got Not For Me right above that. And then we got All Right right in the middle. These are, films that they were fun, but most likely these are films that I won't end up watching again. Hello. And then next up we got Fantastic. These are films that it's obvious. They're fantastic. Let's see if I'll move this a little bit more towards me. But yeah, these are films that are fantastic. I absolutely love them. And I'm just, they're great films. I might not own all of them. I might not purchase all of them or even watch them all that much, but they're just really well-made films. And then above that, obviously, we have the best of the year. Every film that ends up in the best of the year is most likely going to be a film that I end up purchasing myself. So, alrighty, let's get into it. Let's see if I can do this without making a mess of my computer. All right, I think we're good. And I got the actual list on my phone because I've gone through this 1,000 times and, readjusted things to, I like this film better than this. And I know that's a weird way to compare things, but honestly, at the end of the day, you can take this ranking and just think of it. Hey, Eric. Hey, everybody. But at the end of the day, you could take this ranking and really just see it as the top film on this list is the film on this list that I would prefer watching over every other film. And then as you go further down the list, it's just, would I watch this film over the film under it? So it's not necessarily that I think one is better than the other, except for, the ones at the very, very top in best of the year are obviously going to be better, in my opinion, overall in comparison to all of the films that end up in the WTF category. So let's get into it. I'm going to take a drink of water real quick. But while I'm at it, let me know what was your favorite film of 2022 or just some of your favorite films, top 3. Alrighty, let's get into it. So at the very bottom of the list, let's see if I can find it. All right, we got it right here. We have Escape the Field. See if I can do this right. All right, we got Escape the Field. This was a film that did not meet any expectations. Here's the full poster. Escape the Field was not good at all. I watched the trailer for it and I thought, wow, this could be, just some fun at home, and it really wasn't that at all. So we're going to put that at the very end of the WTF category. I know that's really harsh, but I made it through like 4 or 5 minutes of this film, and it was excruciating with only 4 or 5 minutes in. And I usually give films 30 minutes of runtime to, actually give it a chance. But for some reason, I just wasn't feeling it with Escape the Field. Maybe there's a chance that I'll pick it up in the future. Pearl was absolutely awesome, Valerie. Barbarian, Fresh, and Scream 5 was awesome. Fresh was also awesome, but I don't think I would watch Fresh again just because it was a little bit too much for me. The cannibalism stuff is a lot for me, but you'll see where that ranks. That is also right there on the list. Barbarian was awesome as well. Right now, can't decide between Everything Everywhere All at Once, Nope, or Glass Onion. All right, yeah, well, you will definitely see where all three of those films end up on this list. I will say, I can say good things about all three of those films, Eric, as well as Necessary Distraction. All the films you guys have listed are fantastic. Glass Onion was a great movie. All right, let's get into it. We're just going to kind of speed through this because at the end of the day, I could babble on about all of these films. I really could, but it's, I'd be here for hours. So let's just get right into it. I got to search through these to actually see where they are. And here we go. Next up at the WTF, we have Flux Gourmet. Some of you may or may not have seen this. It's on Shudder, I believe. It is a Peter Strickland film, and it was just absolutely wild. I made it through about 30, 40 minutes, and then I just started skimming through the rest. It really just, it's a gross film, and it's shot very well, but it's just so not for me. And I do think that the actual story and what they're trying to tell it just came off very, very, very pretentious. And I don't usually try to use that because I know that can come off as quite harsh. But yeah, I feel like Flux Gourmet was quite pretentious in my opinion and just was a little bit too much overall. It just didn't need to be what it was. And it was too long. Next up on the list, we have Pleasure. This is a film that covers very sensitive subject matter, which is the pornography industry. That's how I'll say it so that this video can keep going on. But yeah, this covers, like the mental traumas and things that can happen within the corn industry. And I think obviously the ideas of it could be explored well if done right, but this was not that. I think it was just very trying to be shocking, but it wasn't shocking. It didn't work for me. And also it was a super small film. So on a technical level, it really didn't look that great in my opinion. And that's also a hard thing to say coming from a small video creator. I don't like being brutal like that, but it really wasn't that good. And it was quite boring, to be honest. And I feel like a film like this especially should be a character study. And this wasn't that. Corn industry. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do on YouTube. Gore doesn't bother me. Okay, I totally get that. It's not necessarily gore. And I guess we'll talk about that because Terrifier 2 is on this list. So gore bothers me in weird ways. I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead franchise. I love the Evil Dead reboot. Actually Halloween Ends has one of my favorite kills of the year. So if you haven't seen my top 10 kills of the year video, go watch that video because although I'm not the hugest fan of Halloween Ends, there's an awesome kill in that film, and I absolutely love that. All right, next up, we're just going to keep on rolling. Okay, this film was a complete disappointment. A lot of you did not like this film. This is Jurassic World Dominion. It was awful. Eric, I'm sorry if you're still watching. But yeah, Jurassic World, what the heck is going on? I enjoyed the first Jurassic World. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was not my cup of tea. It absolutely was just horrendous in my opinion. I remember walking out of the theater and just being like, okay, I don't need to see another Jurassic Park film. But as for Jurassic World Dominion, I made it about 20 minutes through the film before I decided to just completely give up. And, I feel like this especially is an easy film to make. That sounds weird to say, but this was so easy to just put dinosaurs in either a city, a neighborhood, a campground like they did in the short film, whatever it may be. They just needed to have dinosaurs in the world like they promised since the first Jurassic World, and it just wasn't that. So Jurassic World Dominion gets the fourth to the last spot on the what the fuck. And this is technically the 91st film. So now we are technically in the top 90 films of 2022 that I saw. And the 90th film is... oh, I guess it would be Darby and the Dead. I kind of forgot about this. Gross body fluids, though. Spit, vomit. But okay, Necessary Distraction. Okay, you should watch Triangle of Sadness from 2022. It's got some vomit, I'll say that. But Darby and the Dead, this was a Hulu original film, and it has a Auli'i Cravalho. I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but she played Moana. And the acting, like, they're charming, and there's some witty dialogue here and there, but it just took forever, and I can see why it was released on Hulu, but even then, it was just way too long of a runtime and didn't know exactly quite what it wanted to be. Just felt like it was trying quite too hard. So I actually didn't make it through that film. So I don't necessarily think that's the worst film of the year, and it might not necessarily deserve a spot on the WTF portion, but I will say Darby and the Dead, it just wasn't much. So I don't know. It just wasn't it for me. I know I could put that in the not for me, but I just feel like it was a really boring, bland film. Yeah, the editing was really blocking, and the blocking, editing, and the story with the last third. I didn't even make it through the film, Eric. But yeah, it was really clunky with the blocking and everything. You trying to make me sick now? Yeah, there's some vomit in that film. Triangle of Sadness. There's also a lot of poo. Skinamarink yet? No, I have not. I have not watched that. I just heard about that film. I think literally like last night. Okay, I gotta keep this going. We're already 12 minutes in. We only got 5 films. All right, let's get this. The Morbius sweep. I didn't even see Morbius, but if I did see Morbius, I can tell you it would be in the WTF category. So that is there. I did not see Morbius this year. All right, Darby and the Dead. Next up, we got Firestarter. I also didn't finish this film. That's what I was going to say about Darby and the Dead is any film that I didn't finish, I'm basically automatically putting on the WTF category. Firestarter, this was not good. I didn't hate it like most people did. I just thought it was really bland. Zac Efron was quite boring in it, and it just didn't do anything for me. I watched the original beforehand because I had never seen the original. So I was like, okay, cool. But even then, it wasn't. Whoa, I didn't know I could do this. That's coolio. All right, well, we're still going to stay in the WTF category. So with that being said, next up we have Blonde. This was the Netflix release film starring Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe. I was really excited for this film. I thought the trailer handled it really, really well. The trailer looked phenomenal. I still think the trailer is really well done. And I actually think Ana de Armas really looked the part. But wow, the accent just totally took me out of the film. I'm a huge fan of most of her work, but I just thought that she was going to maybe try to get rid of the accent. And so it was just not that. It was like 3 hours long, something like that. It took its time. And it was boring. Yeah, I don't know. And again, I didn't finish this film. So that's another reason why it gets the spot on this list. Actually, all of these films so far are films that I did not finish this year. So technically, some people are going to say in the comments maybe in the future that, oh, I didn't actually watch these, so I didn't see 90 films or whatever. But I tried 90 films. Next up, this is going to be a very controversial one. Where can I find it? It's going to be some of your favorites, but here we have Where to Go. Halloween Ends. Yep. I absolutely do not like this film. I really enjoy the first Halloween film, obviously. I have a ranking of the entire franchise. I have reviews of every film in the franchise. And I really only enjoy 3 of the Halloween films, maybe 4 if we're, yeah. I enjoy Halloween 1. I enjoy Halloween 2018. Yeah, I know, Valerie, it's quite shocking, but this film was so disappointing to me. It just was. Me and my parents were sitting on the couch watching this, and we're just like, what is going on the entire time? I enjoyed the opening sequence. I just think it was an idea that absolutely needed to be explored from the beginning in Halloween 2018. And yeah, it was awful. I honestly don't think I'll ever watch this film. I own Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, which I don't love Halloween Kills, but I like the idea that Michael either just wins and he's just in his house and like that's his ending rather than him rotting away in a sewer. It's just like, what the hell was all of that? So yeah, Halloween Ends is going to earn a spot on the WTF category, the WTF tier. All right, here we go. Yeah, Eric, and it's crazy too because I'm not even a huge fan of the Halloween franchise. Like, it's not my favorite horror franchise in the world. I really enjoy some bits of it, and I love that original film. But as a franchise, I don't think it's a very good franchise. Next up, we have, where is it first? I can't say it if I can't find it. Where'd it go? Here we go. We have Uma. This film was so extremely boring. I'm a fan of Sandra Oh, but wow, yeah, this was boring. That's all I can really say. I didn't finish the film. I skimmed through it. I like Dylan McDermott, but the visuals were boring, and what I saw of it was extremely predictable. All right, and then next up after that, we have They Slash Them. I gotta find this. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? They Slash Them was bad. It was a Netflix film, was it? Or no, it was a Peacock film. They Slash Them was really, really bad and so predictable. I saw the killer the second that I saw them on the screen. I just absolutely knew who it was. So, yeah, don't even give this film a shot. It's not good. I was excited for it too, just because of the fact that you got Kevin Bacon back in a camp counselor slasher style film. I was very just at least curious at the very least, and it just was extremely bad. I need a sip of water. Valerie, do you love Halloween Ends? Like I said, Valerie, I think you should watch my top 10 kills of 2022 because there is a kill from Halloween Ends that is on that list. I think it's very practically well done. Um, that one definitely falls in the WTF category. Which one? Halloween Ends or They Slash Them or both? All right, but either way, let's move on to the next spot on the WTF category with The Reef Stalked. I actually enjoyed parts of this film as I was making my way through the first half of it, and then I was just like, okay, wait, what's going on? It was just repeating itself over and over and over again, and that's kind of what the first film did, but the first film did it well and did it genuinely. Like, it felt creative, it felt new, whereas this film was shot pretty poorly and the acting wasn't very good, and also the dialogue was extremely cheesy. But I thought what we got of the shark visuals looked okay. But for me, as a shark film lover, it was hard to enjoy this film, and I usually do just find some enjoyment in shark films. But again, I didn't finish this, and anytime that I can get my hand on a shark film, I usually make my way through the entirety of the runtime. But yeah, no, I couldn't make it through The Reef Stalked. Don't love it. I was disappointed, but I get what they were trying to show. Just didn't do it well. Exactly. I think Valerie. I think if Halloween Ends, if they introduced Corey in Halloween 2018 as like the weird friend or whatever, And then as they progressed through the story, maybe in 2018, that's when the kill of that kid would have happened. And then over time, you would have seen him slowly progress and not even necessarily take over or wear the mask. But I would have liked it if maybe he was a separate killer. Everybody thought it was Michael. And then Michael showed back up for the... Actually, that's what I really wish would have happened with Halloween Kills, is at the end of Halloween Kills, you could have had it revealed that Corey was the killer all along, and that's why the body count was so high. And then Michael shows up, kills Corey, and then that's when we get Halloween Ends, which would have actually been the showdown between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. But moving on, after that we have The Princess. Where is The Princess? We have The Princess. This was a Hulu original film, which I have to say, it is a bad film. That sounds mean. I like Joey King. She's a charming actress. And there's some actually really interesting action sequences in the film. The CGI fire is absolutely horrendous, but I have to say that it just was so extremely forgettable. It was a fun one-time watch. Like, that's it. Like, I will never watch that again. And I guess this one I might switch it right now and put it in the bottom of the not for me category, because it's not necessarily... No, I don't think it's a very good film. It's not a very good film, but I had fun with parts of it. So I'll still put it right there. You know, maybe you guys will have more fun with it than I did, but, you know, there's a couple fun sequences here and there. Then next up after that, we have The Death on the Nile. I didn't even realize this was the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express, which I hadn't seen because I just had no interest in it. And no wonder I had no interest in that film. I had no interest in this film, really, even going into it. I just thought, oh, maybe I'll do a review for it. And I wasn't interested enough to finish the film. It did nothing for me. I thought the visuals were good for what it was, but it was a very, very boring film. Maybe I'm just a very impatient person, but I don't know. I made it through like 30, 40 minutes before I gave up on Death on the Nile. And I feel like that's a very good amount of time to give a film before giving up on it, considering the cast and everybody that was involved with that film. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, perfect. Another one that you can watch all the way through. And then next up after that, we have The Bubble. This was a Hulu film, I want to say. Yeah, The Bubble. This was Judd Apatow, and the cast is stacked. There's a couple funny jokes here and there, but again, with the cast and everybody involved, and even just like the subject matter, it really could have and should have been so much better. So, yeah, nope, that goes way down in the WTF category. Moving on from that, we have a Netflix. Oh, I want to say this is a Netflix film. I keep thinking everything's a Netflix film, and I'm forgetting what the poster looks like. So the poster, where are you? Maybe I forgot it. Nope, here we go. Choose or Die. I actually really like, I want to say it's Asa Butterfield. I think that's his name, who's in Sex Education. And this film also has one really cool kill, but again, the film overall is so forgettable. I already forgot exactly like what the film was even really about. But yeah, I wouldn't ever watch this film again. It was extremely boring, except for that one kill that happens way too late in the film for anybody to really be interested. And the character that it happens to, you're supposed to care for. But again, I didn't care for, just because of the dialogue and the story wasn't intriguing. So, yep, here we go. Moving on, we have... This one was Deep Water, a Hulu original film that I was really excited for. Not necessarily excited, more so curious. Ben Affleck, Ana de Armas, I believe they shot this film when they were together. And obviously now they're not together. But this film it had a cast that was so stacked. It was the director of Fatal Attraction. So, like, yeah, it had some huge people behind it. It had potential, and it just fell so extremely flat. It in the first half, I will say, I was really enjoying it. Like the first 30 to 40 minutes, really solid. But the last half falls off so hard, especially with a really dumb sequence with Ben Affleck riding a bike chasing a car, and he manages to do so. Like he's just riding a pedal bike, and he chases a car that's already going like 30, 40 miles an hour. Like it's just ridiculous. It's dumb. It doesn't make sense. Deepwater gets a spot at the bottom of the list. Let's go right there. And I think I have some more films that are going to be in the WTF category, then I might have to make it a little bit bigger. But here we go. Next up, we have another Netflix film. And this time, I swear it's a Netflix film. And that is Senior Year with Rebel Wilson. It did have some funny parts. Again, I will say that. But at the end of the day, it was extremely forgettable. I did end up making it through this film. I guess now we are into films that we've actually made it through. The Princess, I made it through, so I guess that probably deserves to be above Death on the Nile. But honestly, I think Death on the Nile is a better made film, better quality film. If I wanted to go back and watch one of those films, I would watch Death on the Nile. And that's what I said earlier. If I'm going to rank these, it's just based on what I would prefer watching, not necessarily that one film is trash and one film is fantastic. So here we go. Senior Year right there. And then let's go. Shoop. Okay, this one might be. I don't think it'll be controversial at all because I know it got tons of bad reviews. And this was one I was very excited for. I was curious for. There was a lot of drama behind it. And I actually got to go see an early screening for this film, if I can find it. Here we go. Don't Worry, Darling. I got to go see an early screening of this film like 2 weeks before the film came out, and it was a full theater. I got great seats. We got a live stream to the world premiere or whatever in New York. So that was really cool. And I was just excited because it was one of my first early theater experiences, and it just was such a letdown. There were things that were set up in the early half of the film that eventually led to nothing. And overall, it was just a message that was just in your face, in your face, in your face. And I actually predicted basically the real entirety of the entire twist. I know that sounded redundant, the entirety of the entire twist, but the twist I completely saw coming like 15, 20 minutes into the film. And I was like, is it this? And then I was like, whoa, I was right. And I'm never usually able to be that spot on with stuff. And I didn't think I would be, especially in a film of this caliber. You got a huge huge director and a huge cast behind it. How would I not solve this? So, or how would I solve this? Alrighty, next up we got Who Invited Them. I want to say this was a Shudder original, and it had some fun parts, fun ideas, but again, it was played so cliche, so boring. Where is it? Who Invited Them? Yeah, the acting is is fine for what it is, but it's just the dialogue and everything that holds it back, and the story again is predictable. It's got fun bits because you know what's coming, but that shouldn't be the case because it's a film that's based around the mystery. But if you know the mystery, then what's the point? So I would say hold off on Who Invited Them because it's really a letdown. And at the end of the day, the killers, I'm just going to say there are killers in this film, but the killers are just so boring. Actually, I'm just going to spoil it. Spoilers for Who Invited Them. The killers are the previous owner's kids who killed their parents, and there was a murder in the house and they didn't know it when they moved in, blah 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 blah. So it was really predictable. This gets spot in the what the F category. All right, you know what? We're going to move. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, can't do that. What did I do? How do I go back? There we go. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I guess I can't put it. Let's see. All right. You know what? We're just going to go through it. Okay, you know what? Next up, we have another Shudder film, and this is a foreign film that really messed me up. It was really excruciatingly violent. This is The Sadness. It was one of the most bloody films of the year. Again, there's a kill on here that I had to put in my honorable mentions of my top 10 kills of 2022 just because of how shocking it was. Again, I wouldn't ever watch it again because of that. Like it was way too much, too brutal for me. And I don't even want to say what it's involving because it's too gross. So if you're going to watch this film, you need to like really, really be prepared, be warned of what you're going to see, because it's like, I watched this film with my dad and we both were like, yeah, we don't need to watch that again. And we can have some fun with some bloody horror films, but this was way too much for us. So you know what? We're just going to put this back over here and we're going to start our other little row down here. I know that makes no sense, but we're going to do it that way. And then I'll adjust it at the end. Actually, you know what? We'll do it right here. And as I go through, going to do this really quick. Whoever's watching, I apologize. Thanks for waiting. Thanks for being in the stream. This is my first stream, really. First solo stream. I was going to do a full entire video for all of these films, but I thought I would be babbling on way too long like I am right now, and I didn't want to be doing that. So here we are, doing it in a live stream for the first time. Well, let's get back into it. So we had The Sadness, which was way too bloody for me, and it definitely deserves a spot on the what the F category just because, actually, you know what? It deserves a not for me because it is good. It is a well-made film, so I don't think I should have put it on the WTF. Actually, speaking of WTF and not a good film, we have a film that I was not like overly excited for, but I thought I would have a fun time with, and I didn't really even have a fun time with. The only reason I enjoyed parts of it is because I watched it at a theater where you could eat food, like we were having burgers and drinks and stuff like that. So that was Thor Love and Thunder. This film made like 60, 70 jokes in the entire runtime, and only like 5 of them made me laugh. It was a very, very poorly made film. It just decided to, make fun of whatever. It just was trying to make jokes out of everything, especially when they set up the beginning of the film to be super serious and dark, and then it was just jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes. So it was not for me. Next up after that, we have No Exit. This was a Hulu original film that honestly was entertaining, but again, the killer was predictable, and it was just like the trailer was promising. I'll say that. The trailer was promising, but the film, right when you watch it, you're like, oh, the killer or whoever the kidnapper is this person. And there's a cool kill in the film, but again, it takes too long to get there. And that's weird saying because it's only like an hour and 35 minutes or something like that. So when you have a film at a pretty standard normal runtime that feels long, it's not a very good thing. So, and then finally, coming up next, these are going to be in the WTF category. Again, this is kind of rough that I'm putting them here because it's like a documentary. It doesn't even really tell a story. But that is Jackass 4.5 and Jackass Forever. Again, I like Jackass. I like the first couple films, but this just, I don't know. It just wasn't what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but maybe I'm just burnt out on that whole shtick. Just wasn't for me. So Jackass Forever and Jackass 4.5, they both end up on the WTF category. I don't know where the other Jackass poster is. But then next up, we have the Minions Rise of Gru, which I didn't finish. So honestly, I will say I may end up, returning to this film in the future. I don't know why I would. I like the first Despicable Me, and I don't mind the second, but I'm not a huge fan of, the entire franchise or Minions or anything like that. So that goes right there. Next up after that, we're going in the Not For Me category, but this is, where is it? Let me find it. The posters are also tiny on here. Maybe that's the poster that I forgot. I think it is. But you know what? Let's pull it up right now. And the movie is Amsterdam. But I could have sworn I saved this poster. And then let's go back here. All right, and then now we upload one more. Oh, wait, I guess I did have it in here. Wait, so where is it? Where are you? Where are you? Well, I guess I can talk about it. Amsterdam. It is such a boring film. The cast is stacked. Didn't know what it wanted to be. It was a drama. It was a comedy, and also just the cinematography felt a little clunky from time to time, which was kind of weird to say. So I'll put that in the not for me category as well. This is moving on from the WTF. Again, everything from here on out, I think, is probably, a pretty okay film that honestly I could probably put Minions back up in here too as well. But under Amsterdam, if I'm going to watch a film, Minions or Amsterdam, I'm going to pick Amsterdam. And I am going to go next up. Our next one we have is Lost City. This was also a theater release that ended up going to streaming really shortly after, if I believe I'm correct. Where is it? This one was fine. It was fine. Had Daniel Radcliffe. He was funny. But again, did nothing for me. Forgettable. Boring. Moving on. All right, then next up on our list, we have a Netflix original film. Where are you? We got Do Revenge. I actually didn't make it through this film, but I do think, again, the quality, the production is pretty well made. It's got a good cast. I'm sure, the acting is fine, but again, it's just something that's just not for me personally. So didn't make it through it, but again, if I had to watch something, I might give it a chance, might throw it on, might fall asleep to it or something like that. Give it another chance, make it through it. And we are only at spot 60 something or whatever on the list. We've only gone through 20 films. So we need to speed this up. Let's go. Next up, we have a film that I was hyped for, but did not like. That was Men. Did not make it through this film. And the message was just, again, hammered into your face from the very beginning of the film. The practical effects were awesome in the very end. But yeah, that was... I don't know what Men was trying to do. Then next up after that, we have a film that I was excited for. I believe it was titled something else before before it's now titled Gone in the Night, and that is with Winona Ryder, which I was just excited to see her in a film, something that wasn't Stranger Things. And it was exciting, except the last 30 minutes really took a dip. So that's why it ends up on the not for me category. All right. And then next up is a film that I took forever to get to watching, and that was Beast, that everybody just seemed to be kind of talking about, saying that, oh, it was really, 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 really fun. But I got so bored with it. It wasn't for me. And I guess I kind of could sense that from, me holding off on watching the film. And I like Idris Elba and I like Charlotte Copley. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But, I like both those actors. So, it had ideas and actors that should have worked for me. And obviously, being a creature feature film, I should have liked it, but it wasn't for me. All right, and then moving on from that, we have Bullet Train. This was a film that, again, I also took quite a long time to actually get around to watching. It's got Brad Pitt. Again, the cast is stacked. Everybody did great in their roles, but I don't know. Just didn't do much for me. It's a fun action film, but I don't ever need to see it again. Out of all the other action films that I saw this year, it was just okay. All right, and then next up we have a film that really, really, really gross. I saw it in theaters. That is Terrifier 2. I gagged multiple times. There is a kill from this film on my top 10 kills of 2022. I do not even like this film. I think it's a bad film. It probably should end up on the what for me WTF category instead of the not for me, considering the fact that it's 2.5 hours of just schlocky kills, which are very well done. So I guess the kills themselves aren't schlocky. It's just everything else is. The dialogue is extremely rough. The acting really isn't great. Yeah, the special effects in Beast weren't bad. I didn't hate them, but yeah, honestly, I feel like today now, if you're gonna do a creature feature, you either gotta use as much practical stuff as you can, or do a damn good job with the CG. So, wow, we're already 42 minutes in. We're only in like the 60th spot. But as for Terrifier 2, it's just not for me. It's way too long. I like not Sienna, the character, but the actress who played her. I didn't mind her, but the character I thought was just so poorly developed and just wasn't really a character, as well as the brother was just so annoying. It was not fun at all to watch. But yeah, some of the kills were funny and gross. Again, there's one kill that ends up on my top 10 kills of 2022 that was absolutely hilarious, and it was terrifying, and it works for the Terrifier franchise. And then moving on from that, we have The Gray Man. I want to say this was a Netflix film as well. Yes, it was. We got Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, and Ana de Armas. It was a fun time, but again, I don't need to watch it again. Kind of like Bullet Train, it didn't really do much for me, but it had some cool action sequences. There was one sequence with a moving city train that was kind of cool. So other than that, pretty forgettable. Then next up after that, we have RRR. This is a film that everybody's going to criticize for me having so low on this list. But again, it was just a film that was way too long for me. And yeah, so the girl in the bedroom is actually not the kill that's on my top 10 kills of 2022. So check that out, Carrie. But as for RRR, it's way too long. It's got awesome set pieces, but again, it's really just that runtime and the fact that I have to read subtitles for that entire runtime. It's a film that I gotta watch on a weekend where I have nothing to do, watch it early in the morning with a cup of coffee, so I'm really able to focus on everything and read all the subtitles, everything like that. So it's a film that maybe actually I probably will give a chance again in the future, but just as of right now, not for me. Next up is a kill. I'm gonna get is a kill. Next up is Orphan First Kill. I'm gonna get slack for this one. I didn't really enjoy this film. I found it really extremely predictable. I also thought, for the most part, that it did an okay job with making her look younger, but didn't didn't do it fully to what I thought it was gonna look like. It just didn't. Yeah, just didn't sell it completely for me. So, Orphan First Kill. I also thought The Last Matinee, I haven't seen that. I really need to see The Last Matinee. I've had that on my list for a very long time, I'm pretty sure. And then next up, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix. This film was actually kind of fun, but I will have to say the bus sequence was a little bit too much blood for me, blood for my liking. It was just a little bit too graphic. Also, at the time, I was doing tree work where I was using chainsaws daily, so that also might come into play with the fact that I was really actually disturbed by the film. So, yeah, that's why Texas Chainsaw Massacre gets so low on this list. But then next up, we have Crimes of the Future, which is David Cronenberg's newest film that absolutely bored me to death. I just did not have an interest in it. I thought the practical effects were good, but the CGI was completely off and wacky. All right, and then next up after that, we have Hellraiser on Hulu. I really wanted to like this film. I like the original Hellraiser, and that's the only Hellraiser film that I've seen other than this one. And I was excited for this one. I thought this film looks visually really good, but again, it did nothing really for me in the end. Found it extremely forgettable. I will watch another Hellraiser if they make a sequel or something. So I guess, yeah, I'll watch a sequel, but I don't need to like rewatch this one going into a sequel if they do it. All right, next up is one that again I feel like this is the one that I'm gonna get roasted for, and that is Elvis. I do not like Elvis. I do not think it is a very good film. That sounds bad. I think Austin Butler is fantastic in the role of Elvis. I think he plays Elvis so extremely well, but I don't think the modern music incorporated into the film works at all. I don't think Tom Hanks really being the centerpiece of the film was a smart idea in any way. It just was way too long of a film. And then also was extremely flashy. It was just way too much bright noises, way too much. And I know that's, Baz Luhrmann's trying to create the sense and tone of Elvis, but it just and I walked out of the theater. This was the only film this year that I walked out of the theater because my girlfriend and I both got headaches from what we were watching. So that was really quite disappointing to, walk out of the theater for a movie that I was really genuinely excited for. So that could have ended up on the WTF category, but I just feel like it's a film that's just not for me because, again, Austin Butler's performance is fantastic, but the way that the story's told, I did not like Elvis. All right, next up after that, we have a Christmas comedy film that took me by surprise, a Hulu film titled It's a Wonderful Binge. This has a really interesting cast, like honestly pretty fun cast. It's got Argyle from season 4 of Stranger Things. Danny Trejo's in it, and he plays an angel, and his name's Angel. That's all I'll really say about that one. It's funny, it's fine. You know what? I'm just gonna start stacking this over here. We'll see. Here we go. I should have just done this earlier. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I there's a lot of films that I saw this year that I just didn't like, didn't connect with, and I don't think I would ever rewatch again. I will say every single film in the WTF category, I most likely won't give another chance, other than maybe Halloween Ends if for some reason my kids in the future want to watch all of them and I'll binge watch them. But yeah, I don't want to watch Halloween Ends again. As for Thor: Love and Thunder, Maybe I'll give it a chance, but I did not like Thor: Love and Thunder. Only saw 1 to 3 in the new one. Oh, Hellraiser. Yeah, Hellraiser was, again, it was boring to me. Like, I thought the visuals were great, but it just did nothing for me, and it just felt like a cheap knockoff of Evil Dead 2013. So here we go with that one. And then, all right. Okay. You know what? Get over there. All right. And we're just going to make this other new line right over here underneath and go back that way. All right, next up is a film that actually some of you have seen and were possibly a part of. This is Red Right Hand. I really enjoyed Red Right Hand, especially for being a $5,000 feature film. I am actually going to put this in the bottom of all right. The only reason it lands on the all right and not in the best of the year fantastic is because I am putting it up with full feature films that are full, really big budgets, all that stuff. But I think considering the budget, everything that went into this film, the small crew, everything that went into it, and comparing it to everything else that's under it, you have to kind of see that like it's really pretty high on this list. And I had a blast with this film, and it is something that I would rewatch. So Jake, if you ever see this clip, just know I would rewatch Red Right Hand over all of these other films under this. The new Hellraiser, the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new Halloween Ends. I would watch your Scream fan film over all of those. So again, don't be insulted that it's not higher up on this list. I just want you to know that I did have a blast with it, and it's just a really fun time with the Scream franchise outside of the official Scream franchise, and it's just a blast. So it was cool to see. And then next up we have the Adult Swim Yule Log, which was an absolute surprise. This was again also a blast that I would consider rewatching if I had some horror friends that were over during Christmas time for whatever reason, because my girlfriend's not a huge horror fan. So I only pick and choose which horror films I think she'll either really connect with or maybe not get too scared by. So yeah, they did do a really good job. Jake did a great job on it, and it's just cool that they were able to release a film in any way. Next up, we have VHS 99. I really enjoyed this film. I don't enjoy it as much as VHS 94, but again, it is a really fun time. VHS is always fun. I still think the original film is the best film in the franchise, but that's VHS. Oh, you know what? I guess I'm moving them in the wrong spot. Actually, I'm going to put... Actually, you know what? We're going to leave it right there. Next up, we've got Emily the Criminal. This was a weird one starring Aubrey Plaza, where she's doing some illegal stuff for money, where she's doing like credit card fraud and things like that. And it's entertaining. I'll say that. It's entertaining, but it's definitely a one-time watch. So maybe I would just put this actually down in the not for me, because I did recommend it to my parents, but again, I told them going into it, like, yeah, it is a one-time watch. It's not great, but it's interesting. It's got an interesting idea. Next up after that, we have a Disney Pixar film. I want to say it was it Disney or was it Pixar? I think it was Pixar, because it was Turning Red. Yep, Disney Pixar. Or was it not? Yes, it was. Growing Up as a Beast. This film was fine. Yeah, did nothing for me. Actually, I am going to put that down in not for me. Whew, let's get through this. I'm getting sleepy. Okay, then next up we have a sequel to a long-awaited Disney film, which was Hocus Pocus 2. I really, really enjoyed it. for what it was. Like, I didn't expect much. I really didn't expect much, with these Disney original, Disney Plus, whatever reboots, like the new Santa Claus TV show. I absolutely could not get through. I made it through 10 minutes of the first episode and gave up on it. Which segment was my favorite of VHS 99? I have to say, probably, not my favorite, but the one that got me the most was the one with the coffin, just because I'm not a fan of spiders. So that one really creeped me out the most. I liked what was it? Was it the funeral home segment? I enjoyed that one. Okay, next up we have another Disney film. This is one that was released to theaters as well as obviously on Disney Plus, and that was Lightyear. I was just disappointed with this. I'm actually going to put this down in not for me. Actually, no, I'm going to put it in all right because I did have a fun time with it until that final reveal. So I enjoyed it again for what it was, but the final reveal of who Zurg was super disappointing. Shredding is the band, the first one. Shredding. Talking about the band and the like haunted asylum or whatever it was. That one was just a little bit boring and annoying, but I did think they were funny. They did their parts really well. Okay, next up here we have a Hulu original film that grossed me out to no end, and it was starring Sebastian Stan, Daisy Edgar Jones, Fresh. This film was nasty. I'm surprised I got my girlfriend to watch this film. Again, like I just said, she does not watch horror films. So to get her to watch Fresh was absolutely shocking, and she doesn't even like mentioning the film's name anymore. So yeah, there's that. Like, Fresh messed both of us up. It's just gross. It's just I don't want to think about that stuff. It's just too gross for us. But yeah, I think it was entertaining. Sebastian Stan was absolutely like engaging in the role, and I love that he did it to separate himself from being the Winter Soldier all the time. Like, it's this just the complete exact opposite. So it's like some of the dialogue that he says, you're like, whoa, this is not the Sebastian Stan that I thought I knew. All right, then next up we have a Shudder release with Deadstream. I thought this film was really fun, but again, I don't think I would watch it again. So I'm going to actually put it down in not for me. Again, I think it's fun. I had a fun time. I laughed multiple times at it. But again, I don't think I would rewatch it again. So I will put it down in not for me. Yeah, I'm not crazy about cannibal films as I'm coming to realize. Like, I've seen quite a few of them, but I will say, Carrie, you need to check out my top 10 horror films of 2022 because Bones and All actually ended up on that list, and I did not expect to like that film in any way. I don't even think that's a film where I will purchase it, just because I don't think I need to see it again. But as for my favorite horror films of 2022, Bones and All definitely deserves a spot on that list just because of how actually thoroughly engaged I was through that entire screening. Like, I haven't been that engaged in a movie experience in such a long time, and it was a lot. But yeah, again, that being said, I wouldn't recommend Bones and All to people just because of what it is, All right, and then after that, we got another controversial one, very low on the list. We got Avatar: The Way of Water. I don't care for the original Avatar. I did when I was a kid. I saw Avatar 2009 in the theaters. I still remember which theater I saw it in, which exact like theater room that I saw it in, and that was a blast. But 13 years later, this story is so boring, and the film is way too dang long. I have no interest in seeing Avatar 3, 4, or 5. Yeah, the visuals are fantastic. So yeah, I'll say that the visuals are phenomenal. That's all you really can say. But then again, the acting's good for what it is, but the dialogue is just super corny. They go from cursing to then saying, you idiot, you butthead, then to going to using the F word, and it's just like it doesn't make sense. Hey, we hit the 1 hour mark on streaming. I've never done that before. All right, and then next up we have a film that I had a really fun time with, and I will definitely rewatch this, and that is Christmas, Bloody Christmas. Where are you? This was also on Shudder, I want to say, and this was a really fun time. And you got a robot killer Santa going around. There's honestly not that many kills in the film. There's like 7, 8, 9. It's tame body count, but it's fun. Like it's that sounds weird, tame body count, but like it's a fun Christmas horror film, and you don't get that often. Speaking of fun Christmas horror film, I haven't ever seen the why am I thinking the Kraken? It's not the Kraken, it's the Krampus. There we go. I haven't seen Krampus, so I need to get around to watching that. Next up, we have a film that used to be way higher on the list earlier on in the year, but just really, as time went on, it just was so forgettable, and that is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Again, it's got some fun parts, some fun sequences, fight sequences, and some visual stuff. Yeah, really cool. It was really cool to see Sam Raimi do a Marvel horror film, but I wish it just dipped its toes way more into the horror side than it actually did. So yeah, it was fun, but forgettable. You need to see Krampus, I know. And the only reason why I haven't watched Krampus is because, again, my girlfriend doesn't like that film. So I got to find time to just like put on headphones and get through it because she doesn't like it. But she likes the guy who plays Ben Wyatt, which I think his name is just Ben Scott or something like that. Something Scott. All right, next up, this film is a film that I was going to put out a review for, but immediately when I was editing my review, I was like, wow, I was way too hyped about that film than I actually felt about it. Like I shot my review, and then immediately afterwards, I was like, I don't feel that way anymore. Like it just, my feelings for the film just dipped really, really quickly. Adam Scott, you got it. Bingo. Thank you so much. I was like, that doesn't sound right. But Smile, yeah, it was fun in the theaters once. Yeah, punch me in the face, punch me in the effing face. I make $80,000 a year, whatever it was. God, I love that movie. It's the Catalina wine mixer. But anyways, Smile, it was fun in theaters, but again, I don't think I will ever rewatch it. It was very predictable. The ending, little visual gag, I didn't expect that, obviously. But I did expect, and I guess I didn't expect the actual ending, but I expected the twist. So I'll say that. Alrighty, and then next up after that, we have I want to say this is again a Netflix film. This was an animated film that I had put on my list for a very long time, just never got around to doing so. I finally did it right before the year ended. Where are you? That is Apollo 10.5, a space age childhood. This was a Richard Linklater film written and directed by him, and I thought it was an absolute blast. Visually, it was really cool and fun. Narrated by Jack Black. That was cool. It's just a blast. Again, it is Richard Linklater's. It's his love letter to space. It's his love letter to childhood, growing up in that time. So it was a really cool, fun watch that I actually do recommend to people. Next up, we have. Oh, actually, I missed one. Oh, no. Under Apollo 10.5, we have a Disney Plus release that I was actually quite intrigued for going into, and that was Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I thought this was a very fun time, dude. Yeah, Carrie, you gotta watch Apollo 10 and a half. It's narrated by Jack Black, so he is voicing the main kid, from today or whatever it would be. But it's a really just a charming animated film. But as for Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, again, it's also a very charming animated film. I don't think it's something that's super rewatchable in my opinion. I do think in a couple years this film is going to feel a little bit irrelevant, a little bit like stale and old. So that's why I kind of put it in all right, or maybe even not for me. But again, I had a fun time with it on first watch, so that's why I think it deserves a little bump on this list. All right, and then next up, here's a film that everybody's loving but me. I wanted to love this film so much, and that is The Northman. I thought the performances were awesome. You know, Alexander Skarsgård, he killed it. But I just kind of, again, I got bored. And what was it? Ethan Hawke. He was good in it, right? It was Ethan Hawke. I swear it was. Either way, it just, again, it was kind of boring. The visuals were phenomenal. Um, and yeah, it was good. It was good. But I just feel like Roger Eggers. His films just don't fully connect with me. I did like The Lighthouse. That is my favorite film of his at the moment. The Witch was a lot, but I do like The Witch quite a bit. And then next up, after The Northman, we have a film that really shocked me, and that was Speak No Evil. If you've seen this film, heard anything about it, you know there's a sequence that is absolutely terrifying and hard to watch. It's gross. It's horrible. I wouldn't recommend this film to people. Like if you're gonna watch a film, I wouldn't recommend this film to people just because I don't want to be responsible for putting some of those images into somebody else's head. Like that's how I feel about Speak No Evil. Whereas like Terrifier 2 is shocking and gory and bloody, and it's just gross, nasty, bloody stuff. Speak No Evil is kind of that, but just realistic. So it feels like something that could unfortunately happen if you make dumb decisions like the characters in this film. All right, and then next up, let's go. After Speak No Evil, we have Where Are You? I want to say this was again, also a Netflix original film that came out pretty early on in the year. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Windfall. This film was really entertaining. Like I actually had a really fun time with this. Lily Collins, Jesse Plemons, and Jason Segel. It was a really, really interesting, like, just a fun time. Like it was tense throughout the entire runtime, and then it ended in a way that I absolutely did not expect. And it just like, it's not the most shocking film, like story wise. Like some of the things upon rewatch, you might have been like, oh, I don't know what, like kind of obvious things. But on that first watch, I was just fully engaged. All right, next up we have a film that not very many people have seen, and that is Hung for Jesus, Save Your Soul. This is a film with Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown, where they are absolutely wild church owners, or not necessarily, they're church like owners and pastors, and he is an over the top wild dude with some very dark secrets. That's all I will say. If you want a very dark comedy, you could watch this. It's a very good dark comedy. So it's, yeah. that's all. That's kind of all I'll say. But Regina Hall has a fantastic monologue towards the last 10 minutes of the film. Jordan Peele, yep, you need to see it. It's really good. My girlfriend and I watched it. We laughed, really quite a bit. But it's a dark comedy. I'll say that. All right, we're almost to our top 30. But here we have number 32. Where are you? Hey, that rhymed. Didn't mean to. Bada bing, bada boom. Where are you? The Black Phone. I was not a fan of this film. I loved the first 40 minutes of it, and then the last half fell off so extremely hard. It just, like the way he took down the grabber was just dumb, cheesy. Yeah, not for me. It was Silence of the Lambs. I get it, but not for me. All right, and then we got one more that we got to fit right in here before we get into the fantastic films of the year. Which honestly, I could still kind of put this next one in the fantastic films of the year because I had such a fun time with it, and it's something that I'll rewatch probably every year for Halloween from here on out, and that is Werewolf by Night. I really had a fun time with this one. Yeah, we really did need more Ethan Hawke, more of him roaming around. The twist with the brother was super predictable, and just the fact that he went out the way he did was just dumb. But Werewolf by Night, I really had a fun time with this. The fact that they were able to let Michael Giacchino do something actually truly original with the Marvel Universe was really cool, and it's something that's it's simple, it's to the point, it's in and it's out. And you don't have to worry about a sequel. And if they do make a sequel, you don't necessarily, don't need to watch it. Like, this doesn't tease you. It doesn't leave you hanging. It's a really fun time. And it's something that I will actually rewatch in the future, every or every other Halloween. So, you know what? I'm going to say fantastic just because I had such a fun time with it. All right. Now we are actually officially into the top 30 films of the year. Next up, we have the last film of 2022. I saw this on December 31st. That is The Whale with Brendan Fraser, directed by Darren Aronofsky. Wow, Brendan Fraser really just his performance is fantastic, but it's a little slow. I did get part of this film ruined for me just because of some like phone notifications that I had going on, and I had to respond to them. So I had 15 minutes of the film kind of not fully, where I was just not fully engaged. So I did miss some important information, which was kind of frustrating, but everything else that I saw was phenomenal. I don't think it's a film that I would consider rewatching a bunch just because it is so heavy. And then also the way that the film ends felt a little, I don't know. It was, I guess, original, but it was a little weird for me. I don't know. If you know what I'm talking about, the final shots of the film just kind of threw me off. Alrighty. Next up, we have a film that I was very, very not excited for. That sounds bad, but I was anticipating this film from the get-go because it is covering a real true story that is Knit Ram. This film is rough. Caleb Landry Jones is phenomenal in the main role. It is a true story about the massacre in Australia that happened in, I want to say, 1994, and its events leading up to it, and it is just creepy and eerie as all hell. Yeah, it's a rough watch. I wouldn't consider watching this film if you have any sort of issue with this type of stuff. It doesn't show anything like that, but it's just the ideas behind it that just are really disturbing. And I don't really find myself liking true crime type of films like that often, but I thought this one was really handled quite well. So I thought it deserved a spot in the fantastic list. Next up, we have a film that, again, this was one of the films that I watched on the first of the new year, and that was, where are you? Glass Onion, Knives Out Mystery, which obviously you could just call it Glass Onion. Took me forever to get around to watching Glass Onion. I enjoyed it. I'll say that. I enjoyed it, and I didn't solve the mystery right away. So Glass Onion was fun, but I don't need to rewatch it again. If I had to rewatch either Knives Out film, I would definitely watch Knives Out over Glass Onion. But I think it was a fun film. It was a fun ride, and it was cool seeing Edward Norton in a role that's very quite different. Then next up after that, we have a film that I was very, very excited for, and I could not wait for it. And that was Weird, the Al Yankovic story. This film was an absolute blast. Daniel Radcliffe is fantastic. The twists and turns that this film takes you on are hilarious. It is an absolutely wild ride. And you know what? I am going to leave a space right here because there is another comedy film that, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it there. I had it right before. All right, and then next up after that, so we did Weird, and then next up we have All Quiet on the Western Front. This film was absolutely fantastic. It was a Netflix original film. This is a remake of the, I want to say it was a 1930s, 1940s film of the same name. And it was a rough watch, but it was fantastic, like really well made. I thought the structure of it was really well done, and I've heard that as a complaint from somebody. But I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was a one of the more well put together action and drama films of the year. So All Quiet on the Western Front is a film that I definitely would rewatch, but it's got one of the more shocking sequences of the year that kind of hold it back from rewatchability, just because I know about it going into it. So I'm like, okay, you need to be emotionally ready, just because it's just a brutal story. Next up is a special, just like the Werewolf by Night. So yes, I know that they're not full-length feature films, but next up we have a special that is like Werewolf by Night, if I can find it. Where are you? I know I have it in here somewhere. Here we go. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I really had a fun time with this. And again, this is something that I would consider rewatching, not every Christmas, but every other Christmas, every other December, whatever. It's just a fun time. It's quick, it's snappy, it's to the point. It does actually have some funny jokes for once in a while, where they're not like, they're actually funny, but they're not overtly in your face. So I appreciate Guardians of the Galaxy, the Holiday Special. Next up, we have a film that landed on my top 10 horror films of the year. So let's see. Where are you? Hellbender. Hellbender was absolutely fantastic. It's a small family film. I mean that literally. Like, it's about a small family, and it's made by the small family that's in the film. I got to interview the lead star of the film, Zelda Adams, which is out on my YouTube right now. So please be sure to go check that video out now. I really enjoyed Hellbender. It's just an original film that is an absolute blast. Next up, after Hellbender, we have Bones and All. Bones and All really came by surprise. It was an absolute just thrill. I'm not a huge cannibal movie fan, but it just was completely engaging through the entire runtime. The cast is phenomenal. Sully as the villain, he is terrifying. Like, he's one creepy dude. So I absolutely enjoy Bones and All. It's not something that I would rewatch, like, really at all, maybe ever, but I probably will rewatch Bones and All. It was an amazing film. I don't think I'd purchase the film, but it's a film that, like, I want to wait as long as possible to give it another rewatch, so that way I can just be completely shocked again. That's how kind of next level this film was for me. And I also saw it in an empty movie theater by myself. So that was a really cool, weird, bizarre experience that I had that I've never had before. Next up, we have Watcher with Micah Monroe that I thought was really a fantastic film. I thought it was predictable, but in a way that was kind of like necessary. Like, she knows. Like, she's not crazy. You know exactly what's going on. She knows exactly what's going on. It's just a matter of time before somebody does something about it. And that's what I liked about the film. And I thought the ending was completely satisfying when it looked like it wasn't going to be. So I really enjoyed Watcher. Next up after that is a film that I was very excited for and is actually my girlfriend's favorite film of the year. And that's 3,000 Years of Longing. I thought, again, Idris Elba, Tilda Swinton, they did a fantastic job in this film, and I really just enjoyed their performances and all of these set pieces. George Miller's a wild, wild filmmaker, and I'm excited for whatever he does next. But this film was a blast. I wish it got more recognition because it seems like most people just felt like it was a mess, but I personally thought it was fantastic. And it is time for a water break. Alrighty, and then next up on this list, after 3,000 Years of Longing, we have Vengeance, written and directed and starring BJ Novak from The Office as Ryan. Many of you know him. I love this film. I really thought it was a blast of a time. Again, I wouldn't purchase this film. It's going to connect with people that are from Texas. I'm not from Texas, but even then, I still had an absolute blast just because the dialogue is super witty, super fun. It's an absolute blast. I tell you, go watch Vengeance. I didn't see the twist coming, which I should have. It's so obvious, but I just didn't see it coming. So that was, I don't know. It was really fun. All right, and then next up after that we have Violent Night. This was an absolute blast. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. Violent Night is obviously David Harbour as Santa. It's just a mix up of all these Christmas films that you know and love. It's easy. There's a couple slow parts where like, okay, just pick it up, give me some more action. But at the end of the day, I think it's okay with those flaws because in the future, I see this being a Christmas film that many people put on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, where they're just chilling, they're not fully paying attention, and you go, "Oh, hey, look at the screen for a cool action sequence," and then go back to eating breakfast or whatever it may be, or making dinner, opening presents, cleaning, what I don't know, whatever people do on Christmas Day. And then next up, number 18 on the list, we have a film that I really did have a blast seeing in theaters, and that was The Batman. I thought Robert Pattinson did fantastic, and the only thing that I want now from Batman is I just want to see Mr. Freeze, and I want it to be a super dark version of Mr. Freeze going around Gotham, freezing people, and then the ice breaks and then they fall apart and blah, horror. Alrighty, and then next up we have The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent was the comedy film that I laughed the hardest in the theaters. But also I will say I think it's the only comedy film that I saw in theaters, so that doesn't say anything at all. But I really did enjoy this film. It was an absolute blast. I cried multiple times from laughter, but there's one film this year that made me cry from laughter even more, and that's later up on this list. But Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent was a really fun theater experience, and the jokes were dumb. It's enjoyable. It's just a fun time at the theater, and I love Nicolas Cage. So, all right, next up is a film that I had a blast watching that I wish I would have seen in theaters. Like, I really, really do. Can't tell you how much I really wish I would have seen this in theaters, and that is The Woman King. Viola Davis, everybody in this film is fantastic. I thought the film looks gorgeous. The night cinematography, they actually shot this in South Africa. I thought it just looked phenomenal. I absolutely will be purchasing this film. Like, I kind of want to just put it up in the best of the year right now. Actually, you know what? I am going to put it up in the best of the year. It is at the number 16 spot, so that's why we're just going to leave it right there. And now getting to the top 15 films of the year, my top 15 films of 2022. Number 15, we have Prey. I was absolutely hyped for this film from the very beginning, from all of the little details that I had heard about it. I'm a huge fan of the original Predator film. I don't love all of the other Predator films, but I can find enjoyment in most of them. I did reviews for the entire Predator franchise, as well as a ranking of the franchise and a ranking of my favorite kills of the entire franchise, including Prey. But I absolutely loved Prey. It is my favorite Predator film other than the original, easily without a doubt. And I can't wait to see another Predator film be released after this one, just because I know that people like the Predator. He's not going anywhere, and I absolutely need me some more Predator. It was an absolute blast. Kills were awesome. Story was simple. It was to the point, and I had a fun time with it. It's the only movie that I watched at home this year. It's the only new movie that I watched at home this year that I actually cheered for. Like, I was cheering at home on the couch going, yeah, whenever there was a really cool sequence. I had a blast with it. So Prey gets the number 15 spot. And coming in number 14 is a film that I did not expect to end this high up on the list. That is Top Gun Maverick. I like Tom Cruise in his Mission Impossible films. I can enjoy the original Top Gun, but it's not something that I grew up with or would rewatch over and over and over again. I've seen it enough times. I've seen it 3 or 4 times. That's enough for me. I didn't rewatch it going into this film. I didn't feel like you needed to. And again, I didn't. But Top Gun Maverick was an absolute blast. The effects are amazing. The cinematography, the practical use of the jets, it's just all phenomenal. And the sound design is something that in the theaters I was like, holy hell, this was it was truly one of the best theater experiences of my life. People were clapping at the end of the theater, and I don't personally get that in many theaters that I go to. Most people don't do that. They just get up and go. So I had a blast with Top Gun Maverick. So that's why it gets the number 14 spot on my list. Let's move on to number 13. Here we go. We have Everything Everywhere All at Once. This film was an absolute blast. I took forever to get to seeing it. I do wish I got to go see it in theaters, but I didn't make it in time. But Everything Everywhere All at Once it is a visual masterpiece. It's just so creative, so clever. The story was really, I didn't predict the twist, and then when it happened, you're like, oh, well, that okay, of course it makes sense. But yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a film that I purchased. I've watched it 3 or 4 times this year already, and I definitely think it's a film. It's it's a cozy film while also being a film that you can put on and be fully engaged with. So you can pick and choose what you want from Everything Everywhere, and I really appreciate that. Next up, we have a film that really, really struck me, and that was The Fallout. This is Jenna Ortega, HBO Max release. This is a brutally emotional film just because of how realistic it is, and it's just a very unique take on real life world traumas, real issues that I like. Honestly, this is, again, I don't like dipping my toes too far into reality when it comes to dark dramas, like Knitram, which is about a true story. This one isn't a true story, but it is based off of world events, mass shootings, and it's not exciting to talk about, not entertaining to talk about that or watch that stuff. But the way that they handled the emotional trauma in this film is extremely phenomenal, and I would absolutely watch this film again with somebody. It's a really good film, so it deserves a spot on this list. Next up, the number 11 spot. Before we get into the top 10, just missed the top 10 films of the year. This is a film that I could not wait to see and I'm very glad that I got around to seeing it in theaters. It was one of the best theater experiences of my life. I don't know. Maybe not of my life, but best experiences of this year. And I can't find it. Here we go. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This is A24's take on Scream, so-called, that they said leading up to it. And that was a poor way of describing the film, but honestly, this film was an absolute blast. They should have just said hide and seek slasher. That's all they should have said, even though it doesn't even really count as hide and seek. But it was a blast. Like, that's all you can ask for from a film titled Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Did you have a fun time? Yes. So Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. It was just really entertaining. The cast is phenomenal. Everybody involved. Seriously, like Pete Davidson. I didn't expect Pete Davidson to be funny in this film, and like, he was totally entertaining, and he delivered one of the funniest sequences of this year. I laughed so extremely hard at that sequence, which, if you've seen it, you know what sequence I'm talking about. All right, now we are finally into the top 10 films of 2022. We're going to go through these really quickly. I'm honestly just going to list these, and if you want to know my full thoughts, you can go watch my full ranking, top 10 films of 2022, which I have that in about an 8-minute video, which is live now, so you guys can already go check that out. If you want to just stop the live now and go and check that out, thanks for watching, thanks for sticking around. But let's actually list these top 10, get through all 94 films that I saw in 2022. Number 10, we have a film that is a sequel to another film that came out this year, and that is Pearl. I did not expect to be watching Pearl this year or last year. I didn't know X was going to be a thing, and I didn't know Pearl was going to be a thing. And I'm glad it was a thing. It was easily one of the most surprising films of the year. It was one of the more gorgeous looking films of the year. Mia Goth is phenomenal in that role. She's fantastic, and I can't wait to see what she does as Maxine to finish off this trilogy that's already closing within 2 years. Like, the fact that they've done 3 films in 2 years in one franchise is awesome, and I loved it. Next up is a film that I was waiting for a very long time, and I kept my eye on it. Like, it just took me a while to find it where I could actually rent it where it wasn't $20. That was The Innocents. This is a Swedish horror film that I will say this is the most shocking film of the year. So go check out my full review, full top 10 ranking if you want to know more about that one. But honestly, I will say right now, The Innocents is quite dark. So if you can't handle dark topics, you're warned now. Next up, we have a film that I also took a very long time to get to watching. It took a very long time to get myself to watch this film, and it is nowhere to be found. Where are you? But it is Triangle of Sadness with Woody Harrelson, and he's like barely in it, I'll say that. But it is a wild, wild film. That's all I'm gonna say. It's poopy, literally. So that's all I'll say. Alrighty, and then next up after that, we had a film that I was excited for but hesitant, and that was Barbarian, and it just blew my mind. I was shocked about it. The acting is phenomenal. The twists and turns are fantastic. So Barbarian gets the number 7 spot. And coming in number 6 on this list, we have a sequel, long-awaited sequel with Scream 5. I really just had a blast with this film. If you know me, you know that I love Scream, so Scream gets the number 6 spot on this list. And coming in 5th place, I forgot already what it was. Yes. How could I have forgotten this? This was Banshees of Inisherin with Colin Farrell and directed by Martin McDonagh, starring Donald Gleason. This was an absolute like just thrill ride. I mean, that sounds weird because it's a dark drama that's very dialogue heavy, but it's just you don't know what's gonna happen, and it's all kind of spelled out for you. But it just plays out you know it's spelled out but plays out in a way that you don't expect it to be so obvious, and then it ends up being that obvious, and it just it's a really really well made film that I absolutely can't wait to purchase. And I love In Bruges, so I was already sold on this film going into it. Okay, next up we have all right, we have our final four films of the year. Next up we have Nope, Jordan Peele's Nope. I absolutely love this film. It is currently my favorite Peele film, just above Get Out. Obviously, it's going to flip-flop over time. I just like both of those films so much. But Nope was a blast, and it's a mix of two of my favorite films of all time. So go check out my ranking to see which films those are. Then next up, we have the top three films of the year. And coming in third place is a film that I did not expect to even watch. I had no idea really where it even came from. I just kind of saw it, clicked on it, watched it, and I cried laughing multiple times. That is Brian and Charles, my favorite comedy of the year. This is easily my favorite comedy in years, favorite comedy possibly in the last decade. Go check out Brian and Charles. Streaming on I want to say Hulu right now, so please go check it out. It is absolutely worth every minute. All right. And then coming in second place, this is a film that, again, I took forever to watch, and I really regret not seeing it in theaters, but I'm glad that I got around to watching it. And it is my second favorite film of the year. Where Are You? It is directed by Steven Spielberg, The Fabelmans. This is his rough kind of biopic style film that's like loosely based on his childhood, and I just thought it was fantastic. It is motivation for every filmmaker, every person that wants to be a filmmaker. Go watch The Fabelmans. It's just an absolute blast. But easily my favorite film of 2022. Oh, I forgot one. So that means we have 95 films of 2022. And let's see, we got Mad God right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this in not for me, just because it is so well crafted. It's obviously it is a claymation style film, but it's so well crafted that I actually would like. I would consider rewatching it and finishing the film. But again, it's so gross, even for being claymation, that it's kind of just rough to get through. So yeah, we're gonna put that back down and not for me. But it is very very well made. Phil Tippett did a fantastic job. So we do have 95 films. But wow, perfect. That leads us into the number one film of the year. If I can find it now, I guess I maybe missed it. Here we go. X. Ty West. Yep, we got the first film in the X franchise, the X trilogy, with X Pearl and then Maxine, and I absolutely had a blast with X. It is my favorite film of the year, and I knew it would be from the second that I stepped out of the theater. It is my favorite film of the year. It's the only modern horror film that has got me to cry, like emotional tears. I absolutely love it. It was phenomenal. I went out first day and bought it on Blu-ray when I could. So yeah, X is phenomenal, and I cannot wait to see what they do with Maxine. So that is my ranking of every film that I saw in 2022. Ranked, again, these are all just the films that I saw in 2022 that were released in 2022. So I did watch more films. I watched, obviously some older films, some, like I watched the entire Halloween franchise last year, and I watched the entire Predator franchise. But yeah, as for all the 2022 films that I saw, these are those ranked. It was a lot of them. Let me know if there's any films that you saw this year that I probably should have gotten around to seeing that you're like, hey, why the heck isn't this on there? Let me know down in the comments below. I've been streaming for almost an hour and 40 minutes now, so I'm going to go chill out, probably go to bed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm already my brain's fried from looking at all these movies. I'm ready to go to bed. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stick around for hopefully some more live streams in the future. I'm just getting started. So thank you guys. Welcome to 2023. I'll see you guys later. Peace.